You may have heard in the news recently about Kamala Harris's proposed unrealized capital gains tax. In this video, we're going to talk about what that means for you and not just for those investors that have $100 million or more in assets under management. There's some very serious implications even for the everyday American. And in today's video, we're going to do a reaction to Pace Morby's video about specifically this topic. He's a real estate investor with many, many properties. He has hired hundreds of people to work at his companies, and he's done a video on YouTube specifically about what Kamala Harris's proposal is and how it affects him, his company, his family, and his employees. And he even said that if this goes through, he's very likely to leave the country.
Welcome to Entrepreneur Expat. On this channel, we talk everything you need to know about living in other countries, moving to other countries, and doing business. And sometimes we do current event topics like this because the crazier things get in the United States, the more people like Pace Morby want to leave, which is something that we're going to be talking about as we react to the video today. So if that's something that you are interested in, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we have coming out on this channel. And if you're interested in starting businesses online or moving to another country, we have a few resources to help you, which you will find in the description below. First resource, if you are interested in moving to Mexico, which is where we started our Entrepreneur Expat journey, we have our Moving to Mexico guide, which you can download for free below. Second resource, if you're like, hey, Amanda and Justin, I really want to move to another country, but I got to figure out how to make money, we got you. Download our free Make Money From Anywhere guide below. We took our 15 years of experience in digital entrepreneurship and put it into a free guide for you so you can start disconnecting how you make your money from where you live so you can literally live anywhere. And if you would like more personalized attention on how to do that, you can book a time on our calendars below. So I think that's basically it. Let's get into this video. We tried to, it's a very long video, so we'll make sure to link the whole thing below. We tried to find the clips that would get to the point as quickly as possible without getting lost in a lot of real estate jargon for you guys. So make sure to give this a like because that's actually a lot of work.
And subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell to make sure that you do not miss out on any awesome content that we are posting here at Entrepreneur Expat about how you can make that journey and live and build a business in another country, have a remote income, and live and work from anywhere in the world. Let's jump right in.
Kamala Harris is absolutely crazy. This is not a political video, but I want to go through how she is screwing with my legacy and my company and how it actually means something for real estate investors, people that are trading and making money by having their money work for them. I just went through, watched about 6 different videos. And no, I didn't just watch Fox News because Fox News is always going to be biased about business people. But what I wanted to do is share my opinion, obviously, but I wanted to break it down mathematically so that you can understand how this actually messes with investors like me. So her proposed tax bill will take 25% of unrealized taxes or unrealized capital gains out of a property that I haven't even sold yet. So think about this. I bought 5 houses right here, Sterling, Maddox, Sonnet, 87th Street, and Whispering Grove, all 5 properties that I'm currently selling right now that I bought 4 to 5 years ago. They've all gone up in value, 400,000, 200,000, 300,000, 200,000, 300,000, totaling $1.4 million in equity growth over those 4 to 5 years. That's the game of real estate, right? People say, you know, I want cash flow, and cash flow is great, helps pay the daily bills for the jobs that I create. By the way, I have 600 employees, so I'm not somebody that's just going out there and hogging up all the real estate as most people, maybe these tyrants will say, is like, oh, you're
like a Blackstone or somebody like that.
Providing more jobs than you could ever even fathom in your life. Am I by any means a top 500 company in the world? No, but I'm doing my part to provide jobs. And this is how I provide my jobs, is the cash flow from this real estate provides jobs to people in my companies. How I make money is I wait for these properties to appreciate.
Okay, so a little bit on this. So unrealized capital gains. So first of all, without going into the math and all of the diagrams and everything in this video, because it's a super long video, we're going to link to it below if you want to watch the whole thing and get into the nitty gritty. But capital gains is essentially the amount of money that you earn on an asset. So you buy an asset, whether that's a property, whether that's Bitcoin, whether that's gold, whatever that asset is. capital gains is essentially the amount of money that you gain between the time that you buy that asset and the time that you sell the asset, which makes it really funny, just this proposal in general, because we're talking about taxing unrealized capital gains. Well, first of all, that isn't really a thing. You have a capital gain when you sell something after you buy it at a lower price. It's almost as if you said, well, you're gonna, you go into a casino and you gamble, and before you actually hit the jackpot and take your money out, they're gonna tax you. It makes absolutely no sense. You can't tax something that doesn't exist yet. It hasn't happened yet. And you're gonna have a bunch of little old ladies that have a few houses because they say it's $100 million or more in assets, but we all know that that's eventually going to trickle down to everybody. That's always what happens. So you're going to have cases where your grandma bought a property in 1970 and she bought the thing for $75,000 and it's worth $500,000 or $600,000 or $1 million now. And she's going to have to pay tax on the increase of that property without ever selling
without ever having sold a house. And the reason why we bring up the $100 million thing is because we were looking at the comments in this video and other videos, and a lot of people coming in and fighting. It only applies to people who have $100 million in assets. And the thing is that if you think the government is going to stop at only a people with $100 million in assets, you trust your government too much. So let's start there. Number two, you'll see Pace going into it in this video, but if he's constantly being taxed on unrealized gains, you are basically screwing with the money of everybody that he pays. So if you have, I don't know what people think, like you have $100 million in assets and they think you're managing that thing all by yourself. No, it affects every single person that company employs as well, because now you can't hire as many people. Now you're screwing with their retirement. Now you're screwing with all these things. I mean, you could literally collapse an entire industry doing this.
An entire economy.
An entire economy. And he's going to go more into doing that. But the people who are like, it's only for people with $100 million in assets and blah, blah, blah. Do you think they're managing all that by themselves? No, they hire a lot of people. And now you're taking money out of those people's pockets, because that's how this works. And in addition to that, what's probably being sold by Kamala or whoever ended up with this crackpot proposal is they're probably saying something like, oh, we're going after the top dogs, which Pace brought this up, right? Pace is like, I'm not one of these companies that's going out here and buying up real estate so nobody else can get their hands on it. That's more people like Blackstone. Do you honestly think that they're going to end up going after those companies? No, those companies are paying for their campaigns. Yep. So what ends up happening is they tell the public, where they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going after the Blackstones and all those guys. But what ends up happening is A, no, they're not. And B, what people like Pace are the ones who end up getting screwed, and all the people that they employ. So if you think the government's doing this because they want to help you, think again.
Like crazy. I would have been just shelling out tax bills on unrealized gains, which means I haven't even sold the property yet, and you're trying to take 25% of my money? And that's before I even get the money. So I have to go and find the money somewhere else to pay the bill on a property that has no realized gain.
This is key here. All of these investors, what they're doing is they're taking big risks with their own money because the tax system was set up in a way to favor people that are investors, that are going and buying properties, they're fixing the properties, they're creating affordable housing, they're creating jobs. They're paying a lot of tax to the government, but now this is sort of flipping that entire thing and removing all of the incentive for them to do that and to create those jobs and eventually pay a lot of tax on the money that they're paying on payroll to their employees. They're paying money on all the services and all the contractors that they're paying and all these other things. And when and if they do actually sell the property in the end, they are paying that capital gains tax, but you're trying to tax them in advance without any value ever having been realized from those properties.
Actually not made any gain yet. That is what she's proposing. This is absolutely crazy. And I think it's one of two things. It's either she's doing it to get the attention of all the Democrats that are like, I hate Republicans because they're just greedy. And guys, honestly, Democrats, you just don't understand us. And Republicans, you just don't understand the Democrats. There's more of a middle ground that needs to be done there.
I agree.
That's a big point, too. In U.S. politics, everything is really, really super divisive right now.
Yeah, but if you get down to the basics and the brass tacks of everything, like for example, you tend to be obviously a lot more libertarian. I tend to be not as libertarian as you, but when it comes to money, I get real libertarian real quick. But just being honest. But one of the things that I've noticed, and we see this in our comments section on this channel, is we will have people who are very conservative and we will have people who are very liberal. You guys literally don't agree on 90% of most things, usually social issues, if we're being honest. But when it comes to the 10% that actually really matters, everybody agrees on that. But we're so busy fighting each other and they're having us fight over dumb shit like this that we can't see that at the core issues, everybody's in agreement because they're too busy having everybody at each other's throats.
Like, hey, don't mess with my money.
Yeah.
Don't mess with my kids. For the most part, people agree on that, although there's extreme points of view on both sides. Let's not tax everybody into oblivion. Now, some of the differences, I think that maybe Democrats feel more confident in that the tax dollars are going somewhere that actually helps us. And at a certain level of income, maybe it does. If you're dependent on the government and you're not working or you're on unemployment or you're getting government handouts and that's just how you want to live your life, which is a very, very small segment, I think, of America overall. I think most people actually want to work intrinsically.
I think it's a small segment of the world. And when you start traveling a lot and living in other countries, you start to realize everybody's basically the same. Everybody wants prosperity, everybody wants safety, and everybody wants their kids to have a shot.
And people want to contribute to society.
And people want to contribute to society.
But when you de-incentivize that, when you say, for example, this is going off a little off topic on this video, but I think it's still relevant. When you say, listen, everybody that's crossing the border illegally today is going to get 30 days of housing in New York at a 5-star hotel. It's going to get assistance from the government, a cell phone, free healthcare, everything. What kind of incentive do people actually have to immigrate legally into the U.S.? What kind of incentive, if you take it a step further, do people that are actually trying to start businesses and create jobs and generate real value for the economy, what you take away all of their incentive? It doesn't make any sense for them to go and now work and contribute and risk their capital, risk their time, when you're putting everybody who has just completely evaded the system and done things against what our values are, and you're just going to give them a bunch of free shit, and you're not going to help everybody who's actually truly contributing to the cause, contributing to the economy.
Like this guy, like Pace, who's probably seeing that situation. Sorry, Pace, if you're watching this, I'm making blatant assumptions right now. But, you know, you could see, but a U.S. citizen who's working their asses off, they're paying taxes, and they're paying payroll tax, they're paying property tax. Like, it's not like the guy doesn't pay tax. Already. He pays a lot of tax, actually, and then works the system to not have to overpay tax because that is how the system is built, so then they have cash flow to keep building. And he's going to make that point momentarily, but he probably sees that, like most Americans, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm busting my ass paying all these taxes. They want to tax me more. I don't even get free health care. I don't even get functioning health care. There's crap in my food, and then meanwhile, someone can just pass on over and get a bunch of free shit that I paid for.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about taxes is that the people that are wealthy or super wealthy, like, there's no reason that we should take their money and then redistribute it to people who don't actually want to take advantage of the opportunities that are here, and to all these government programs and these foreign countries. And that's the biggest thing, is like most of our tax base now goes overseas to funding other countries' wars. Why? Like, who that makes a lot of money that wants to contribute to America, that wants to build the American dream, which in some ways still exists. It's leaving, but it still kind of exists, that American dream, that ideal, at least for wealthy people. For the average middle class person, not so much anymore. But to the very least wealthy people, they're like, okay, there's still something left here. Let's continue. Let's build. Let's try to get the country out of this shamble, this mess that it's in right now. And then you're saying, well, we're going to tax you 5 to 10 times as much as we're taxing you now, and we're just going to send it overseas and give it to people who don't want to work or who enter
Yeah, and a lot
illegally.
of people who make these arguments about like, oh, they need to tax the rich, you don't realize that the United States actually already has one of the highest tax rates in the world. They also don't realize that people like us, right, who live in other countries, if we were to make money in another country, Uncle Sam is coming for his cut. And the United States is only one of 2 countries in the entire world that does that. So for Americans who are like, oh yeah, the rich don't pay their fair share in taxes, they don't realize just how heavily taxed Americans actually are.
Because they don't pay taxes. The average person pays little to nothing in taxes.
Yeah, well, there's also that. And then in addition to that, and we can just say this being in Mexico, we have a lot of friends who are Mexican who are very conservative and they don't like the way that the politics are going in Mexico. They think they're going too far left. And I'm like, listen, your version of left in Mexico right now is nothing in comparison to the insanity we have going on in the US right now. It doesn't mean don't pay attention, right? It doesn't mean don't go get second passports and residencies and all that stuff. Everybody should be doing that. Period, point blank, no matter what country you're from, because you never know what happens in countries. But to the Mexicans who are like, oh my God, we're too far leftist right now, your version of leftist is still very conservative in comparison to this crap, which is what's being proposed in the United States right now, and in comparison to a lot of the insanity going on in the United States right now, because Mexico still has common sense. At least for now. Let's knock on wood it stays that way. For Mexicans. We hope it does for you guys.
Just admit that we provide jobs and we actually put cash into the marketplace, we'd be a lot better off. And if we understood that, yes, more people need more opportunity, then yes, we'd be a lot better off. Totally get that. This is not a dividing conversation, but you need to understand that who you're voting for will dismantle the entire country. Real estate investors who are providing literally millions of jobs across the country will just stop doing real estate, because I would have had to have sold Sonnet to get my gain to then pay my bill, and then the next year I would have had to sell Maddox to get my money to then pay the gain on these properties. And I probably, by my calculation, I did the number this morning, I would have walked away with about $400,000. Because my ability to compound my gain over those 4 or 5 years would have been so diminished that I would have lost $1 million to the federal government.
Why would anybody who is contributing to this economy, creating jobs, investing in real estate, risking their hard-earned capital, their time, their connections, everything, why would they want to do a deal that took them years to make $1.5 million? Why would they want to do the same deal for $400,000 and then give $1 million to the government?
They
to send to causes that they don't believe.
They absolutely wouldn't.
They're
And
just
that's
going to
the point.
stop.
They're just going to stop because there's no point. And somebody might be, well, $400,000 is a lot of money. That's almost $500,000 in cash. That might seem to a lot of money to you, but when you have 600 employees, that is nothing. That's not even your payroll. And that's what people don't understand.
But it took me 15 years to accumulate that $5 million on this one project. It took me 15 years, okay? And now what do I do with that $5 million? I either go produce more jobs with it, or I go lend it out and I make other people's projects make a lot more money. That $5 million is tax-free, which is awesome. This is the way the tax codes work now. This allows people like me to produce jobs. This allows people like me to pay my bills. And if you're going to tax me along the way on a tree that has not produced one single harvest, you're dismantling the way this country is meant to be, right?
And what he's saying, that metaphor, I think is perfect. Imagine you're a farmer. You've got a crop growing. You haven't harvested anything. You haven't realized any kind of gain from that crop. And the government comes to your door. This is literally the same thing. The government comes to your door, knocks on your door and says, listen, based on the crop that you have grown out there, we think that you're going to make $200,000 off of this farm when you finally do harvest. So we'd like a check or cash now. We'd like our $20,000. You haven't made the money yet. You're going to have to go and sell your farm equipment or mortgage your house to pay the government on a gain that hasn't been realized. You haven't made the money yet. It'd almost be the same thing. Now, people that are on a W-2 and that are making money every month, they see income taxes and everything taken out of their paycheck. It's kind of like that, but much worse, because now you're not only it'd be as if the government said, listen, we're already taxing you on the income that you're making, but in addition to that, we think that in 5 years you're going to get a promotion to a director level position because of all this work that you're doing. So we're going to tax the future money that you're going to be making now. So you've got a $40,000 a year salary now. We're going to tax you on a portion of what you would owe us making $100,000 a year. But guess what? You have to pay it today. So now you're going to have to sell your assets or work a second job to pay the government even more, even when they're already charging you 10, 15, 20, 30% tax, depending on how much you're making. It's the same thing.
Enterprise, you just government coming in and taking our money. I'm literally, this morning when I read this article, I said, I'm leaving America. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm leaving America. Can I just start?
As you should.
This is ridiculous. So I want to show you guys that this actually has real implications for real estate investors like myself. And these long-term cycles that we go through, this is how not only I retire, who cares about me, but this is how a lot of my team members will retire. A lot of my team members will be tied into the equity growth of this. This is their 401k. This is their retirement savings account, right? You guys might be at a Fortune 500 company as somebody has a 9-to-5 job, sitting there contributing to your 401k and they're matching and all of that kind of stuff. I don't have that at my company. This is our 401k. And so Kamala Harris is taxing my 401k for my employees along the way, and you're diminishing the way my employees will retire. This is a significant issue. And this is there's so much more to this. She's raising the corporate tax rate. When they did the tax breaks a couple of years back, right? Trump did the tax breaks. They did the science and they said, or they did the numbers on it. They said 74% of all tax break money that all these weird Republicans received, 74% of it went into hiring people and creating jobs. 74% of the tax breaks. So taxes, hiking the rich does not help the country. That is proven to be the case. This is a big deal. Tell me what your thoughts are down in the description or down in the comments down below. And look down.
He said the biggest thing, right? Which is, I can't believe more people haven't brought this up, but do you want to know what happens when you start taxing these guys like crazy? The guys that do know how to make money, the guys that make jobs, the guys that are really trying to get ahead for themselves, their families, and their employees, they don't see the point, so they leave. And they're not afraid of leaving because they know how to make money from anywhere.
And do the same thing they did in the U.S. somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
There's always opportunity. And other countries are now opening up more and more every single day to especially wealthy people. I mean, Mexico is now raising the bar every single year to how much wealth or savings or income you need to have to get a residency here. But they can do what they're doing in the U.S., they can do it anywhere.
Yeah, if they can do it there, they can do it anywhere. Or, you know, this guy, I mean, he runs an online component of his business as well. He'll just take the online component and take it to another country. Or you have countries like El Salvador who are like, hey, if you're professionals and you can help us in this area, in this area, in this area, and in this area, we're going to give you a citizenship. Meanwhile, the United States is literally fucking the people who are trying to or attempting to fuck the people who literally make the economy run. That's what they're doing. And then you have other countries like Mexico, like El Salvador, like many other countries. They're not the only ones who are trying to make their countries more attractive to people like him who are fed up with what's going on in the United States and feel like, why on earth would I even try if I'm not going to be able to get ahead, not for myself or my family, but my employees are not going to be able to get ahead either. Why would I even bother? I can take these skills, I can take this money, I can take this intelligence, and I can go somewhere where I'm going to get a better deal and actually be able to contribute. And I'm actually surprised that not more people have brought that up. But then I guess, you know, most people aren't really following what's going on in other countries and what they're trying to do to attract people like Pace. They're like, hey, it's not working out for you over there? Come over here. We're going to make it very attractive for you to come over here. And that's going to screw the U.S. because, and I know you can speak to this, you do not want to lose people like this guy who know how to make money and create jobs.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just a boiling frog situation right now in America where enough people are complacent enough and they're just barely comfortable enough where, okay, you squeeze a little bit more tax out of you. All right, well, you're probably not going to leave. You don't get paid anywhere near how much the cost of goods is going up. All right, it's just like a boiling frog. You really don't feel it. You feel it. You feel the crunch of inflation. You're at the grocery store. Things cost a lot more. Things cost double what they did just a couple short years ago. Like we noticed when we went to Los Angeles recently. But it's just one of these things that you can tolerate it and tolerate it and tolerate, and then finally one day it cracks, and by the time that everybody realizes how bad it's getting, it's going to be too late.
Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting 5 to 10 years in the United States, that's for sure. Regardless of who wins, it's going to be interesting. But I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Do you guys think that a proposal like this will actually pass in the United States? Let us know what you think in the comments. And do you agree with Pace? If are you like, hey man, if this passes, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm going to another country. Let us know in the comments as well. Also, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, give us a like. This helps us get it in front of more people. We have a goal to get in front of 1 million entrepreneur expats or aspiring entrepreneur expats to have conversations that really matter, like how economics actually works or how you can live a more global lifestyle, and we need your help to do that. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, do all those things, and we will catch you guys on the next one.